Suge Knight confirms that Tupac wasn't signed to Death Row, despite what you've been told in the past.
I didn't have to do a deal with Pac because Interscope didn't want Pac anymore.
Oh yeah. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like some cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. I thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button notification. Also, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Suge Knight has proved that Reggie the Wright Jr. was lying and didn't know what he was talking about when he said that Tupac was signed to Death Row from that perspective. I had told you guys, you know, not by nothing that I was actually saying and trying to convince you of, but recently on the Dave Mays Breakbeat podcast, the Suge's new podcast, Suge basically confirmed what I have been, you know, trying to convey to you guys, you know, and, you know, because everybody wanted Tupac to be on Death Row and to be signed to Death Row. And like I said, you know, in the music business, it doesn't necessarily work that way. And what you want or what you want it to be or how you want it to appear, it doesn't work that way. And I understand from a fan's perspective, you know, what people wanted to believe, right? But Suge confirmed basically that Interscope basically gave him Tupac's contract.
But the crazy thing about that shit, right? I didn't have to do a deal with Pac because Interscope didn't want Pac anymore. They was giving me Pac contract because they didn't want Pac no more. He was too much for him. I used to walk in the motherfucking office and call them all motherfucking the devils.
Because Interscope was basically exhausted at the time and really didn't know what to do. And Tupac was a little bit too much for them. And they felt like Suge would be able to, you know, hold and contain Tupac and, you know what I mean, be able to get the business done that Interscope needed to get done as far as, you know, selling more records. And they wanted to cash in basically off of the publicity that was going off the, the Bad Boy and you know, Death Row in the East and the West and all of that, you know what I mean? And so Suge said that, you know, they gave me Tupac's contract, right? So, in giving Suge Tupac's contract, what does that mean? And Suge said also that he didn't have to give Tupac a new contract, but just tried to give him some enhancements in that like 5 or 6 page agreement that they signed in prison. But the key to that is that agreement involving Tupac, right? That agreement was signed before they did the initial agreement, like this contract right here. So, and in this contract right here, it basically says in this paragraph right here, in which I tried to show you guys and tell you, it basically says that the contract that Tupac, and you know, I'm gonna sum it up, but you can read it here. The contract that Tupac had with Interscope, it was never to change. It wasn't, yeah, that was what that was, you know. But Tupac was basically going to record under Death Row, but still be signed to Interscope. And Suge confirmed that by saying that Interscope gave him Tupac's contract, right? So now, when you understand that from that perspective, there you have it. But more importantly, you have people like Reggie the Wright Jr. Once me and Art of Dialogue did the video involving that situation with the contract, trying to come out and basically refute the contract itself that had Tupac's signature on it. You know, this is a legal and binding contract. Not only did the contract have Tupac's signature, it had the bail agreement. It also had the bail conditions in which, you know, how they put up the money and all of that. And all of these things had to be submitted to the court. But Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. And Gullible John insisted on trying to take my video and critique my video as if I didn't know what I was talking about. Right? All in trying to capitalize and do numbers off of that situation. The same thing that they copyright claim my videos for. They did the same thing to me. I didn't do that to them. It just shows you the kind of characters that you're dealing with. But Suge confirmed that Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. did not know what he was talking about. Period. Point blank. The contract in itself proved that Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. did not know what he was talking about. Point blank. Period. Right? So now, when you understand all of that, and then you go back to the fact that it also in that agreement, and this is the thing that I know only Tupac could control, you know, Suge Knight or nobody else could control this. Tupac had to sign a power of attorney with Interscope and with Atlantic Records. Right? So, and another thing, Atlantic and Interscope could not, and the reason why they let Suge handle it, right, which was a great thing. Like I said, if it wasn't for Suge having Death Row, Tupac, like I said, you know, he's not out, you know, from that perspective, at least on Death Row at that particular time, right? You know, they let Suge handle it because it would have been a public relations nightmare for them to go and say, okay, we getting Tupac out of jail, and Tupac was charged what he was charged with. And Warner Brothers, which was the parent company of both of them at that particular time, was a publicly traded a stock company. You know, the shareholders would have went crazy. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? The stock would have dropped and all of those things. So there's certain strategic moves that they made. They allowed Suge to go and do that and be the front man. And like I said, and all the while, Tupac was still signed to Interscope. And the proof was this right here, this agreement right here. This is the agreement that was done after Suge had did the 5-page agreement in jail, right? Basically saying, you know, and then Suge, you know, in that agreement, remember, Suge just said, I didn't have to give Tupac a new contract. Why? And basically, it says in there that, you know, he would try to do it, but once, you know, Jimmy Iovine them got wind of that, they was like, nah, we got a contract already, but he can come over there and, you know, we can't handle him. He can come over there and you know, record under Death Row. And it would have been, it was the right thing to do. Business-wise, money-wise, marketing-wise, all of those things. It was the right thing to do. So I'm so glad that Suge came out and confirmed that, man. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take nothing away from Suge. Suge is a legend. And like I said, without Suge, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened like it happened from that perspective. And so when you understand that and you get that, you know, all of the rest of the stuff that, you know, all of these people, mainly Reggie the Rat Wright Jr., was saying prior to Suge being able to talk out or speak on his podcast now, you know, was just a bunch of lies and a bunch of fluff, you know, trying to make Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. Bigger than he actually was. You know what I mean? Like I said, he was a failed security guard. His company failed Suge Knight and Tupac in Vegas. You know, before you claim any kind of fame to anything else, you got to accept that first. You got to accept the fact that you disobeyed Suge Knight and, you know, because Tupac firing Reggie the Rat Wright Jr., he was negligent, and he was blatantly negligent in pulling the security off of Tupac that night, as well as not sending the 5 security guards that Suge Knight asked him. Before Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. comes out and says anything regarding Tupac, he has to admit that. He has to accept that and take responsibility for that. You know what I mean? In totality, not trying to blame Frank Alexander, not trying to blame anybody else, but being the guy who failed. And like I said, and partially the reason that Tupac is dead right now, because he didn't do his job at all, period. Right? And so, like I said, and Suge coming out and doing the podcast and speaking on that was very powerful and very telling. Also, when you think about that, at the end of Tupac's life, this is also what shows you that Tupac wasn't signed to death row. Afeni, who did she deal with? Afeni went to who? Afeni went to she went to Interscope. Interscope's lawyers and Afeni's attorney basically broke everything down. They gave her money. Afeni had put a cease and desist on them trying to put out the Machiavelli album. They worked out a deal where they could actually put that album out. Right? Period. Who did all of the negotiations? Interscope and Afeni Shakur's attorney. Because why? Because like Suge said, basically Interscope gave him at that particular time the permission to record Tupac under death row. But basically the contract that they did on side of the contract, the original contract with the bail agreement and all of that contract that they did basically stipulated, that Tupac was still signed under death row, and that contract was never to change. So when we understand all of that, at the end of the day, the deal that was done, how everything broke down, who were the people negotiating when Tupac had passed away was Tupac's mom and her dealing with Interscope. Actually she had to, sue at the time what she thought where death row had, more power than they did when they actually didn't. And that's when Jimmy Iovine stepped up and like, nah, look, this what was really going on. You know what I mean? Here's the agreement. Here's the bail agreement. Here's everything. And then everything came to light. But then also what I liked about Afeni, and then this is where Suge gets major league credit. And I'm going to tell you, Suge gets major league credit because of that jailhouse letter that Tupac had signed that gave him, like Suge said, more royalties and stuff like that than he had on his original contract and signed with Interscope. Afeni Shakur actually enforced that. She demanded that be upheld because that was one of the things that her son had signed, prior to getting out of prison. And that was and Jimmy Iovine and they did that. They gave that to her. So the deal that the 5-page contract that Suge did with Tupac in jail, Interscope actually had to uphold that, and that was part of Afeni Shakur's negotiating strategy from that perspective, which was brilliant. So like I said, Suge Knight actually gets credit for that and negotiating that and giving Tupac a little bit more royalties and all of those things. Like I said, and so when you think about it, yeah, it was everything went how it was supposed to go. The only thing that really truly honestly happened, and you got to look at it from this perspective, that in Vegas, that Reggie the Wright Jr. didn't do his job. He did not do his job, which allowed Tupac to run over there to Orlando Anderson, which allowed Tupac to be shot later. Like I said, he didn't have the proper security. The security protocol was shit at the end of the day. And that is the reason why Tupac was allowed to do what he did. He didn't, like I said, Reggie the Wright Jr. did not obey the order from his boss because Tupac had fired him. And like I said once again, and I'm going to say it again, when Tupac fired Reggie the Wright Jr., Reggie was like, fuck Tupac. And in Las Vegas that night, and regarding Tupac being secured, Reggie the Wright Jr. was like, fuck Tupac, even though Reggie the Wright Jr. knew that Tupac was only firing him as his personal security. And like I said, Reggie the Wright Jr. still had an obligation from working with Death Row and being hired by Death Row to secure Tupac's safety when they were on any kind of official business, record company business, or when Suge Knight said so. So when Suge Knight asked that to be handled in Vegas and Reggie didn't do it, the 5 security guards, and Suge said he pulled the security guards off of Tupac, that's the reason Tupac is dead. First and foremost, because none of those other things come into play if Reggie the Wright Jr. Did what he was supposed to do. So like I said, I'm glad Suge confirmed that, and so that you actually know the facts behind what that is and what that. So like I said, Suge was responsible actually for Tupac getting a little bit more money when it came to him, you know, when you know, I don't think that he knew that he was going to die and all of that stuff and everything that happened that was going to happen, that it was going to go to that level. You know what I mean? Despite what the conspiracy theorists say, right? You know, and being in the car with Pac. But like I said, when it came down to the final negotiations, that contract that Suge had did in prison with Tupac, you know, giving him a bump and the royalties and all of that stuff, that was actually a thing that Afeni asked to be upheld. You know, when she went to do the negotiations with Interscope and getting Tupac's masters and all of that stuff together. Yeah. Your boy DELRAY, straight gang.